We'll call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our agenda tonight shows a public hearing first up, and this public hearing is to expand Water District 6, which is Baldwin Road area. And our clerk will read the notice of the public hearing, please.
You just did a fine job. It's a public hearing to be held today at 6 o'clock, and it is for an extension number 4 on Water District 6 at Baldwin Road. And I'm not going to read everybody's address on there. And anybody can speak if they want to be heard.
Any discussion from the audience on the proposed Water District expansion? Excuse me. From the board? Okay, just a quick explanation. For the longest time, Baldwin Road has not been a water district. Okay, it's been the vast majority of it has been a group of contract users. The state is more or less insisting that we try and change all our contract users into different, and include them in districts that are already formed or form new districts to do it. It's their call. There's not a lot of maneuvering that we have available to us, and that's what this is about. Everybody out there pretty much is a contract user. The only people this will really affect is going to be the vacant property, which up until this point in time has had 0 charges to it, and they'll now be charged the minimum charge, $8 and change per quarter. That being said, I would close the public hearing. Accept the motion for that. I'll move that. So moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Giuliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I don't believe we have any presentations for this evening. And a little change, we don't have a sign-up sheet. Anybody that wants to speak can speak. Now is the opportunity. Mr. Flores.
We did tell Patty she'd be able to speak. I'm sorry, Albert. Patty had come in earlier and asked if she could speak first.
Can't hear what you're saying.
I said Patty had come in earlier and asked if she could speak first.
Want to run that by me again?
Patty had come in earlier and asked if she could speak first. Is that okay, our assessor? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I wasn't aware of that, Patty.
Yeah, I didn't mention it. She asked me.
You're up.
Okay. I guess you, the board, have some questions for me, but I had sent a message to Tanya and to the ones that I have email addresses for. I don't have Bill's yet, and I don't have Chatty's. But Lowe's has been in litigation, Chapter 7, and their attorneys are pushing to get their court settlement now, and they want to go from $8 million down to 4.1 is what they put on their application, but they got an appraisal in for 2.1. Well, Martin sent a rebuttal back and said you can't go lower than what they asked for at the grievance, so they are going to go to $4.1 million. In saying that, we need to have an appraisal done for the Lowe's, and Dave Fontana, who we have on our through the town, because he's been working with me since I've been hired here. He's willing to do the appraisal for $3,900. So I think it would be, really highly to do that, because to drop from $8 million to $4 million, then go back three years is going to be very costly for the town.
Okay. Being that that involves litigation and whatnot, should we discuss this in public session, or should we?
You could, if you wanted to discuss the litigation strategy behind getting the appraisal, it is an executive session item, yes, because it's past litigation. The request to spend the money would have to be done back out in public session. You can't approve an expenditure of funds in executive session.
Okay, I understand that. But if we want to discuss the strategy we're going to take,
Yeah, you should do that.
we should do that in executive session.
Yeah.
How does the board feel?
Personally, I feel we should spend the money.
I second that.
Okay.
Have they been given tax breaks since they purchased that property?
Yeah, they started with a pilot program, which went tax exempt for X amount of years, then they pulled out, so that was based on the jobs they would create in future assessments, which we don't get now, and now they're trying to cut that in half, so it hasn't been a good relationship, but impacting the town is so much. You take 4.1 million and go back 3 years on that appraised value, and that's a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money, so I feel like we need to address that.
Patty, is this just for an initial appraisal, or is this a trial ready?
It's in trial because Martin said that if we don't have the appraisal by March 30th.
So you're on a schedule?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're going to need an appraisal.
Yeah.
So it will be a trial ready.
Right.
Or sometimes, like we did years ago with that IP, for example, we had an initial appraisal and then a trial ready appraisal for a property like that can be $100 grand.
So 3,800 is good.
Oh yeah, very reasonable.
It's a good price.
39.
39. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion from the board?
Dave moved.
Yeah.
I second it.
Moved and seconded to hire Mr.
So
Fontana.
it's a go, so I'll let him know tomorrow and get
We
started.
got to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So it is a go.
Okay, I got one more. You guys were asking about Hudson Headwater. That's another litigation that's out there right now. They are trying to get a non-for-profit exemption on the top half of Hudson Headwater. The bottom portion is owned separately by two different companies. Eichner owns part of the building and another company owns the other half of the building. So it's only the upstairs that's trying to get the non-for-profit. And again, Martin just sent me this just now when I was upstairs. I just received this. And he said, I received a proposal order in the case and it looks like petitioner's attorneys is going to let the court issue a judgment. So a judgment, if granted, will likely award petitioners a bill of costs. So we need to let them know that we're going to let them have the exemption so that Martin can stop, hopefully, the bill of costs. Maybe Matt can explain it, but...
That probably would be something we should discuss.
Okay, we'll reserve that item for executive session so that we can discuss our strategy on that.
Okay, so that's
With our
fine.
attorney? Okay.
Thanks, Betty.
Thanks.
Now you're up.
I'd like to make the town board and all you people sitting there aware that there's a group of people that want to make town-owned heritage building, Building 88, handicap accessible up at the top, because they have room up there, and we're looking for a room to present all the pictures that were taken out of the Thai Fishing Game Club. We're redoing them, and we want to set them in a room there along with head deer mounts and fish mounts, and have an ongoing type thing for, it's, part of the Ticonderoga Heritage ongoing picture. People take pictures, want to send them in, or they pass away and they want to leave deer heads or something, and they can be high on the wall up in there. And kind of in Merrill Dahlback and Louis Moret, or not Louis Moret, but Andy Moret, they did an awful lot for conservation, and Merrill Dahlback did a tremendous amount of work with, he had a 1,500 membership Thai Fishing Game Club at one time. And we'd like to make that room in memory of Merrill Dahlback. And the other thing I want to talk about was there was a 100-pole power pole changeout on Baldwin Road. And I've been talking to some of those people, and if you've noticed other parts of town, you'll see a lot of new power poles up, and there'll be an old pole that's been cut off at the top with a telephone attachments to it, because they don't want to spend the money to reattach it to that new pole. Well, you got about 100 poles up on a Baldwin Road. I don't want to see 200 poles there now instead of 100. And if that's the case, I'd like to get my taxes reduced if they leave them there. Because I don't think Verizon wants to spend the money on that way. They just want to just leave them. So, and there's a safety factor involved there, as some of the poles are probably not safe, and who knows which pole that is. The reason they change them out is not all safety, but some of them are unsafe. So that makes it another priority that they should be taken care of. That's all I want to talk about.
Okay. I can speak to the picture issue. I've been trying to get hold of Fred Vermonte, who's the curator at the museum. Haven't been successful with that yet since you spoke to me the other day. And I have found that there are possibly some structural issues with the second floor rooms in the floor systems, and we've got to get that checked out. I'm going to have Mr. Ball check that out and see what's going on with that. But I've talked with a couple of board members that are in agreement that it would be a very nice thing to do for the community, and we're going to go forward with that.
Yeah.
And this is the first I heard about the telephone poles or the line poles out on Baldwin, and I'll research that, get back to you.
But if you look around town, you'll see other places, the same situation.
I know.
Been here for quite a while.
I know just what you're saying. We'll find out. Anybody else have anything you'd like to bring to the board?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was in a dentist, and a fella suggested to me that these traffic lights that we have in town, when they break down, they're very costly to fix because of the part situation being so old. He suggested, and I thought it was probably a pretty decent idea, go to four-way stop signs like we already have one. And there's no reason, I don't see why we couldn't go to four-way stops on the other two, should it happen. I'm saying when they break down, because when they do break down, you're looking at probably a minimum of a $5,000 bill if the light goes out. Would that be in the ballpark? Seven?
That's what those last two were.
Yeah.
And we bought them surplus from the Office of Government Administration, or
Yeah.
I think it is OGS.
We could get a lot of stop signs for that kind of money.
Yeah.
And that stop sign seems to have been working, so.
It seems to function fine every time the power goes out. You know?
My other thing is, I asked the two incumbents in November their opinion, and now I'd like to ask the three new board members their opinion. And my question to them was, we presently have 7 full-time patrolmen, Ticonderoga patrolmen. If there was 7 full-time state police officers stationed in the barracks in Ticonderoga, do you think that there would be any drop-off in efficiency in protecting Tide? And I'd like each of you to respond yes, no, or whatever your opinion is. So Jackie, if you don't mind, I'll start with you.
Well, I haven't been on that committee to understand the difference in service level there might be between the state police and the town police. I would expect there would have to be some kind of decline if they would be covering a larger area. Are they really willing to do that? And what would the cost be? But if it's something we should really look at, maybe we should really look at. I'm not an expert on, I haven't studied that particular question to say, yes, it would be good.
That's why I'm asking the question, and this way here, everybody is on on the record. Bill, what do you think?
Personally, I think there probably would be a drop because of the requirements that the state police have. They would be addressing a larger area. I think if you see, I haven't even talked with anybody in the state police to know, but if they're going to station 7 people here, are they going to open a new facility? And
If they had a barracks here, they were located in Ticonderoga, just like our local police department is. If
With
they
the
were
same-
located in Ticonderoga.
with the same duties and responsibilities and jurisdictional area?
That is up for negotiations, but what I'm asking is, do you think there would be a drop-off in efficiency in protecting the town?
I do, if there is not the same jurisdictional restrictions placed on those 7 individuals, because they're going to be scattered from hell to breakfast. If they are under the same jurisdictional restrictions as our present police force, you would probably get the same level of service.
Okay.
But unless you go apples for apples down the road, you can't do of just flat yes or no.
Okay, sir, what do you think?
Well, right now, I'm reading it's about that thick that the police department, or the state police put together, and they want no part of it so far. I haven't completed it yet. But they more or less said that they would not put a station down here, barracks, or whatever you want to call it. They have one in Crown Point. But the other side of it is if, and you'd only have 1 or 2 people in around here, they wouldn't put 12 people in this town. So if you got a call, you'd have to possibly wait for them to come from wherever they are. They could be up in Lewis or wherever, and
You
you'd have to
drive
wait.
around town now. You drive through the village.
Oh, yes.
Have you seen, how many local state officers' cars have you seen in the village as opposed to state police? You have as many state police driving through this town on a daily basis as you do locals, if not more.
Not in my opinion, but that's just mine.
That's your opinion, okay. And my next question is for the attorney. Anything new on the Fort Tide litigation?
I have not heard a decision on that yet, right?
No, we're still going back and forth with them.
Yeah.
But it is in motion. I mean, briefs and answers in the file.
Can I say something?
Before you do, I want to respond to Dick, that if you want to schedule a meeting, organize a meeting between someone from the state police, myself, and yourself, to sit down and discuss this, I'm perfectly willing to do it. I mean, I don't want to, our police budget is significant. I'll be the first one to admit to that. And if there's a way that the town could save money by utilizing state or county forces, I would certainly entertain it. But I don't want to see a drop in enforcement. I want to see an increase in enforcement. I've already had conversations with Chief Johns that I would like to see a more aggressive police presence in Ticonderoga in some areas. And I certainly wouldn't want to go backwards in that if we changed the source of our police protection.
Well, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but the governor is putting a lot of troopers through trooper school this particular year.
I've read about that also, and if you want to try and organize a meeting along those lines, I'd be happy to sit in on it, and you know, I do pay attention.
Okay.
Dick, that's because they went 3 to 4 years without a class.
Yes, I understand that.
Attrition.
But they are building it up.
Well, they're getting back to the levels they were at. Yes, you're correct there. That's why they did it. They're doing it.
Albert?
The reason you see so many troopers daily, on a daily basis, there are several troopers that live right in Ticonderoga.
There's 5.
That's the reason to see them.
That's a lot of it.
I think there's 5.
Hey, I see troopers on my street on Grace Avenue. It's dead-ended, okay? I think it's probably because Mr. Waldron is taking his lunch break or gotta visit his house for whatever reason, but, you do see a good number of people, but I think that's a valid point. There are a lot of troopers living in Ticonderoga right now.
If it's okay with you, I would like to sit in on that conversation.
Yeah, sure.
I definitely want to be.
Yeah, if that meeting comes about, I'll notify the board.
Appreciate it.
Only two of you.
Only two?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, unless you advertise it.
Right.
yeah.
You can advertise it.
Yeah.
Hide in the closet. I shouldn't say things like that.
Probably should advertise it.
Any other comments from the public? Anybody else would like to be heard? That being the case, bear with me. I'm a newbie. This is as fresh to me as could be. We struggled a bit to get our agenda and whatnot together, but we've done it, and we're going to go forward and see if we can accomplish the rest of the meeting. You'll notice there'll be some changes in our format from the past. I hope they're for the better. I hope everybody feels that way. We're going to move on to resolutions. I'd entertain a motion to accept or correct the minutes of the regular and special meetings from the organizational meeting, and
Organizational meeting was the only one.
that's the only one we have. Okay.
Dave was not.
Yeah, I won't vote on that.
So, we asked him.
Did you change the date and time on the minutes?
Yeah.
So copy I got still had the old
Well, I
date.
sent you an email that when, the top. Yes, they got changed.
I'll make a resolution that we accept the meeting to the January 4th, is it?
Second.
Second, I'm sorry.
We started quick.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Huntston, second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain from that, right?
One abstention. Approval of the water and sewer reports.
I'll move we accept them.
Motion by Mr. Taylor, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Huntston. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Approval of the supervisor's monthly financial report. I assume you all have a copy of that one?
Yes, we do. I'll move that we approve.
Motion by Wayne, second by Chatty. Excuse me, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to pay the bills. So moved by Chatty.
Second.
Second by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We will pay the bills. We'll move on to reports of committees. Public Works is first up, and it's got my name on it, but Mr. Taylor was the chairman at the last meeting, and I'm going to let him hit the high points of our last meeting with the Public Works.
And we do just go over the bullet points here, and if anyone wants to see the minutes in their entirety, they will be on the town website. Right, Tanya?
Yes.
Okay. We did have our Water Sewer Committee meeting on December 31st at 8:30 a.m. with myself, Jeff Cook, Tracy Smith, Derek Fleury, Todd Hodgson, Steve Eustace, Chatty Van Wert, Bill Grinnell, Dick Holroyd, Fred Husband, Kevin Sauer, Dave Liano, and Lynn Fraze in attendance. Under Water Wastewater Supervisor's Report, down to sewer districts, the draft Speedies permit has been received, and the notice of complete application was published in the Press Republican. The January 17th is the final day to comment, and there are many items that require a closer review. Some of the items that are being required are outfall 003. It's going to be limited to 4 discharges a year, that there be a best management practice has to be updated and include areas of concern. Post-construction compliance sampling plan to be implemented. Collection system assessment plan to be implemented. Wet testing requirements. Stream reclassification. Mini pre-treatment plan development and disinfection. Outfall 003 is one of the larger concerns. As its current status, the town cannot avoid less than 4 discharges a year as being required. Outfall 003 is a manhole off the Lake George Avenue that has a combined storm and sanitary sewers in it, and when we get big, large rainfalls, the thing tends to surcharge and there's a runoff into the chute. Anyway, to stop these overflows would require separation of sewer and stormwater at a considerable cost. Under the GIGP construction grant, the town has received a construction grant in the amount of $539,103 to address storm water separation. This grant will be useful in the further separation that has been ongoing, but will not be enough to fix all of the town-wide separation issues. Discussion on areas within the town limits where this grant could be best used. Tracy asked Bill Grinnell to schedule a meeting with the DEC before the deadline to discuss the town's concerns with the new Speedies permit. A further concern is the requirement to disinfect outfall 001 and 002, and these are both down at the wastewater treatment plant, which is a considerable change from what we've been doing, but it's due to the reclassification of the Lachute from a D waterway to a C waterway. So that requires that we chlorinate the water going back into the Lachute River, or disinfect. We haven't determined how we're going to do it yet, but in the past we used to chlorinate it. Outfall 002 will be disinfected with chlorine, but there is a chlorine limit, therefore a dechlorination process will have to be implemented too. Outfall 001 will be disinfected with UV radiation. The town has applied for a WQIP grant, which has a maximum award of $2.5 million and will be reimbursed 85% of the construction costs. On the collection system, on December 19th, a large amount of fuel entered the wastewater treatment plant. After a 2-day attempt, the source could not be determined, but is thought to be in the vicinity of the Portage, Carilion, and Champlain Avenue. The spill entered the wastewater treatment plant after hours, affected the aeration system, but was contained once the staff was on site. IP supplied the town with a truckload of materials to clean up the spill, and we would like to thank the International Paper for helping us with that. The DEC Oil Spill Division was notified and came on site, and there were adverse effects to the biomass at the wastewater treatment plant that are being closely monitored. Discussions are being held to monitor the effluent to be aware immediately of future incidences such as these that occur after hours. And we're going to jump over to page 5, down to grants. An HMGP for pump station generators. Based on recent feedback, the award of the grant is looking positive. GIGP Stormwater Planning Grant, Mike Orabano will continue gathering GPS data in the spring, summer of 2014, and that is an intern that we've had working for us from the State University of Plattsburgh, and he's been working using some of the equipment we have to map our infrastructure. It is noted that this planning grant can be closed out by the end of this year. Under GIGP Stream Daylighting Grant, this is a recently awarded grant in the amount of $539,103, which does include a $60,000 town share. This grant will be used to separate stormwater from the sewer mains. This YQIP grant, the town has applied for this $2.5 million grant to implement disinfection at the wastewater treatment plant, which will be required by the Department of Conservation in 2017. The project cost has been estimated at $2,942,000. And over to the engineer's report on page 7. Chilson Water Transmission Main, the HMGP grant. AES is still completing engineering and environmental requirements for compliance with FEMA review of this mitigation project. Geotechnical probes have been completed and information will be sent to the New York State Department of Transportation permit application. Submission of plans and specifications along with permits are scheduled to be submitted in January. At this point, FEMA will be issuing a new approval for the mitigation project totaling roughly $2 million in hazard mitigation grant funds. Bidding of this project is supposed to be in late February to early March. As this project will be a reimbursement through FEMA, the town may want to discuss with bond counsel. This project is 100% funded by FEMA, but the town has to pay the cost up front before reimbursement can be requested. The 2013 hazard mitigation project submission. The town of Ticonderoga had the 2013 hazard mitigation program application for $1.6 million. Roughly $1.2 million in grant has been updated per request for additional information and coordination with Essex County Planning. Grant is pending internal review. Jump down to well development under the Sawyer parcel. Well development is now in progress as the contractor, Lane Christensen, is mobilizing and delivering materials to the project site. And that's pretty much it. Next scheduled Water Sewer Committee meeting will be January 28, 2014 at 8:30 a.m.
One thing I would add to that was I had a discussion with DEC today about the 2.5 million grant for the disinfection. And I was told that that grant looks to be in extremely favorable condition for Ticonderoga. It is an 85-15, but it's a ton of money to help offset the cost of that project. Hopefully it will play out the way they're guessing that it's going to go. One other thing, the rest of these committees, as we go through them, you're going to find that a good share of them will not have any report because there weren't any meetings in December and we haven't had a chance to have the meetings yet in January. They're scheduled for later in the month. Don't think we haven't been working. That's hardly the case. Operation efficiency would be...
To do the resolution for your public hearing, you just have to...
We can do that now.
So
We can do that now. We can do that before we move on and do it as part of the Public Works report.
I would move that we establish Water District number 6, extension number 4. Baldwin Road.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Chatty. All in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, discussion. I'll get this right after a couple of years.
Do you have to pull this one, or is this one just...
That's not a roll call, no.
This has been in the works for a while, hasn't it, Bill? Bill, this has been in the works for a while, hasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
I just have to get a signature on that later.
Do you need roll call or do you? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now, operational efficiency would be Chatty's new committee.
Well, Wayne and I met yesterday afternoon and talked for about an hour. Have a lot of ideas, but I don't have anything to report at this point.
We're gonna work at getting ideas from some of the help too, from some of the people on the floor. You know, things that have been a chronic issue in terms of eating our lunch fiscally and in other ways operationally, and see if we can't come up with some ideas as to how to get the gears to mesh a little better, maybe. Fair?
Yeah, I think we're definitely looking for input from town employees, because the efficiencies will come through them, and we have to engage them and get information get the ideas about how we can improve, but then we need them to cooperate and put these things into practice.
Yeah. And again, depending on a lot of the stuff might need contractual work. I mean, we may need capital, which case we come back to the board. I mean, there's things that we're going to look at, but we're thinking outside the box, and we wouldn't limit it to just if anybody in the public has any ideas that that they think might be able to help, because that's the future of public service. I think is trying to increase productivity and work smarter instead of harder, and try to get more bang for our buck. Don't you, Dave? Yeah, great.
On those lines, one of the early things that's on our list this year are applications for Bill Ball, sign applications, things like that, so he doesn't have to spend a lot of time dealing with those.
Yes.
We'll have them in PDFs up on the website. People can print them off fill in the application and give it to him. So I think that will, we've talked about it, we've pushed it off for a while here and there, and I talked to him earlier this, or in the last week, and we're going to move that thing forward, get him some good applications to streamline that whole process.
Thank you. Buildings and grounds, parks and recreation.
Well, buildings and grounds, parks and rec, we didn't get into yet, but they're,
But they're, by way of explanation, they're going to be combined this year.
Yeah.
And it should streamline some of our operation right there.
buildings and grounds. We met on December 17th, and in attendance was myself, Chetty Van Wert, Sharon Reynolds, Bill Grinnell, and John Bartlett. Of Fondry Architects, working on proposals for bid requests to repair some of the town structures. We're trying to put it together by what needs to be done first, and again, input from the town as we go through this. Be happy to work with anybody, and we'll have all this stuff up as we go. Supervisor Grinnell was wondering if our technical advisors are set on new rather than repair. We want to make sure we look at both sides of that, look at the cost, looks what it costs us to run what we have now and what we can save and get the efficiencies in place and see which way we need to go. So we really want to look at both sides of that coin for the town and for the employees, both. We were looking at goals. We're trying to get these bid specs in place for the required work or suggested work on the buildings. Some of the stuff we have to do, some of it we can put off, and that's what we're going to look at. Police building replacement, we have to work that in there somewhere. We're going to have to do something with that building. The highway building, repair or replace, again, we're looking at both sides of that coin, what to do there. So we've got a lot going on. We're trying to figure this stuff out, and that's what Chatty and I are working on, and Bill's been there, and we've all been there, actually. So our next meeting is January 14th here at 10 a.m. Anybody like to come? We would appreciate it, and that's that one. That's what I have for that. Parks and Rec. That's what Chatty and I were working on yesterday, looking at who's involved with that, how they interface. They help us in the winter with some of the cleaning. They also help us with removing some of the snow from the buildings, but very little goes on in the winter with Parks and Rec. But we're looking at getting ahead of the game this summer, the employees, how they work, how they interface. Chatty's going to really help me with that because summer for me is a little tougher. So she was going to really work on Parks and Rec. We're going to look at efficiencies. You know, we don't have to wait till August when the place is real busy to try to put air conditioners in. We can put them in June when the guys have more time. So we're going to look at efficiencies in that group and see how we can help and they can help. Again, that's working with the employees to do that. So that's where I am with Parks and Recs. And that will meet also on January 14th. That's after this meeting, so it'll be at 11 o'clock right here in this community building. That's what I have for that, Bill.
Thank you. Economic development would be Chatty.
Well, I had a meeting with Bill about that and also met with Matt Courtwright from the Chamber to get his ideas about it. I'm looking at inviting new members for that committee, and it's been difficult in the past to get people to attend those meetings on a regular basis, so we need to find a new meeting day and time, and I plan to call the first meeting probably the beginning of February once we determine what the best times are. And one of the priorities that seems to be something we'll need to consider is updating some plans that we have. It's come to our attention in the last couple of weeks that we'll be in better position to apply for certain grants if we have an updated economic and or strategic plan. So rather than start with a new plan, possibly pulling the plans that are out there for the last 5 or 6 or 7 years and determining what we've accomplished already and what the priorities still might be, and putting that together to make a current document. And that's something that I'm hoping we can do with just a committee rather than hiring a consultant to do that for us again. And with the next round of grants probably coming due this summer, we'd really like to have a plan in place so that when we're applying for these grants, we can point to this plan being active. But we'll keep you up to date on that.
That strategic plan, is that the basis they used like when they tried to do the zoning and all that? Is it that type of plan?
Well, it has to be, certainly it's strategic. It's also, so much to do with developing the economy, and we're a tourism economy. So we have, that's probably our most current plan, is the Destination Master Plan. I think that one was done in 2009. So from what our engineer said with regard to some of our infrastructure grants, that they like to see that's part of the town plan.
If this thing's going to eventually roll into zoning, I would make sure we got as many people involved from the different areas of town as we can, because that became a real issue last time. And that's, and people tried to do the right thing, but it was people in a specific area, and it didn't. We didn't really look at the rest of the town when we were doing this, but the rest of the town came in to let us know we didn't look at that. So
I
just don't want to go there again.
Yeah, no, I don't think we can, and to have something by summer.
I think we need zoning. I just think we need to look at it better, than we did. That's all. I'm just throwing that out there because I've been through that.
I understand where you're coming from, Dave, but I don't believe that the economic plan is going to be a zoning plan.
Okay.
Okay, it's two different entities.
Okay, because they were looking for economic development in the zoning in specific areas.
Economic development is part of zoning.
And we need it. I know we need it. I'm not saying we don't need it.
But it's also its own entity.
Okay. Okay. Just been there, done that.
And I understand.
That's it for me.
Thank you. Airport.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of the airport, if I may.
Sure.
We had got bids in on the airport fuel depot, okay, and they were too high, okay? I would like to make a resolution for the town to reject the present bids for the airport fuel farm because the bids are too high for the allotted funding from the FAA. Put that on the floor as a motion.
Second.
All discussion.
Could you just, I'm not aware of that,
We talked about a fuel depot at the airport, okay? The FAA said this should cost this much, which they fund, okay? When the bids came in, they were much higher because there was, and maybe Matt, you can help me, with the haul road requirement, and the FAA said that did not fall into this, shouldn't have fallen into this. They said pull that out, get the construction costs down to where they should be. Can you explain what the haul road requirement is?
Well, the haul road, I think, was an option on the engineering plans, is what it was. It was just an access to get in and out of that spot.
Okay.
So, you put it in to see if the project will come in. It would be great to have it, but it wasn't an FAA requirement.
Okay.
And it's also, didn't the engineers indicate that it's probably not unnecessary?
No.
How much additional is the whole road?
No, it's not critical. I don't think they broke out the whole one.
They did. They just put us over the allotted amount. I know that.
I know that there's a lot of people like to go up there and walk and ride bikes and stuff. I didn't know if that might be some way to facilitate that. If we had this haul road.
No.
That wouldn't be?
No. Okay. You won't get through that gate.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different pieces of this bid spec that it's just buried in here, and a bunch of line items.
But I think when the engineers came in and say it's too high, we should reject it, I think we should reject it.
I would agree.
As part of this project, is there any way we can integrate more public access to that? Because I know that it's been a bone of contention. There's people that walked there for years and rode their bikes. And
I think that can be, I believe that can be accomplished as a separate issue other than this project.
Outside the fence or something, but we can.
Outside,
But I didn't know if it could be integrated or some way.
It's kind of hard.
Well, it won't be part of the fuel project. It'll be
Fuel will be inside,
The fuel is going to be contained in 14 different ways. But
That's an FAA, that's another one of these things like a mandate. We're going to put a fence around your airport, you're not going to walk on it anymore. You're not going to do anything on it anymore. It's just what's happened, And I don't know how we get around that.
You can't at this point.
Yeah. We do have 11 parks and a lot of roads that aren't used much. But I know people enjoyed walking out. It was 4,000 feet. It was a certain amount. Yeah, I know. So, any other questions on rejecting the bid?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So the second part of that is, we're all set there.
Yep.
We would like to rebid the fuel farm project, removing the haul road requirement to lower the cost of the project. And again, the FAA did not believe this is a necessary requirement for the construction, so I would move that.
We have a motion, we have a second?
It's to remove the haul road.
Yes.
That part
The
of it.
haul road being an H-A-U-L. It was
Right,
an
haul stuff in and out.
an extra access to the fuel area.
Now, the fuel, they can bring the fuel in.
They can still bring
Yes.
fuel in a different
Yeah.
way, yes.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Well, we have a motion, we need a
Oh, I'm
second.
sorry. I'll
Second.
That'd be good. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried.
It's not very big, but if anybody wanted to see the map, I reduced it
I've seen it.
8.5 by 11. It's on there.
Thanks, Bill. That's all I have on the airport.
Thank you, Dave. We'll move on to Highway. Mr. Taylor.
We didn't have a meeting. The meeting had been canceled for December, but we did have a couple issues at the highway garage. We did have a broken drive shaft on the 2004 Western Star Tandem, which there was no broken axle like we had originally thought. So that was a good news that they were able to weld the existing drive shaft and got it rebalanced, and we're able to utilize that without buying another one. We did have a little issue with the fuel system up there. We originally had thought that it might be a gelling situation with the diesel fuel, and as it turns out, it was a loose belt on the pump. And thankfully, it wasn't an issue with the fuel, so we were able to get through that. Mike has been looking for is in the process of trying to find a track-mounted sidewalk machine for a nominal price. They found one, I believe it's in Michigan, that's been offered for sale by a municipal agency. They've rejected a bid of $65,000, but we're thinking that we might be able to have something like that, for somewhere less than a full retail on it. They typically go for around $130,000 new. It would do a lot better job on the sidewalks than what we currently have. We have the machine that has a 54-inch cleaning device on the front of it, and it makes for very slow going as far as getting the sidewalks plowed in a timely manner. So at any rate, that's going to be coming in the future. He also had mentioned to me today about he'd like to get another single axle dump truck, a 550 series, for use in and about the former village. Just from a maneuverability standpoint, it's much easier to operate and to do a better job around the village streets with. So he does have money in his budget for it, and that will be coming. But we will have a regular meeting at the end of the month on the 28th, and we should have a better report for you next month. That's all I have for today.
Thank you. Any questions? Human Services, Mr. Huntsman.
Pardon?
Human Services.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Youth and Senior.
Oh, we haven't had a meeting on that yet this month.
Last month was mine.
Yeah.
I have the report on that one.
Very good.
That was December. I still had that committee then. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Youth met on December 16th. In attendance were myself, Marge Herbert, Tanya Thompson, Jackie Pallandrini, Fred Hunston, and John Bartlett. What I tried to do was kind of outline this for Fred as how this thing runs. With the K through 5 program downstairs with Marge, she also handles Skateland and 4 dances a year there. The skating rink is Dean Kidder. Core Mountain is Helen Bartlett. These are what the town takes care of, okay? Soccer, Lisa LaCourse did last year. Biddy basketball was Todd Bilo. Some of the goals we were trying to reach and we're still working on, and Bill came up with some good ideas too. We're looking at code of conducts for the students, for the coaches, mission statement, Background check for employees is starting to get pushed by our insurance. We're trying to see exactly what an employee is. These things are expensive, so, you know, we've been working with Mark. Mark's been helping us try to filter through that, but that could end up being a costly thing, so we're looking at that. And basic policy and procedures for the different things that we do and the different organizations we have. John Bartlett helped me start up the summer youth program last year, and he said he would stay with it this year and make sure it continues the way it did. Tanya also visited about a format to run programs so the director will understand how we interact with the students and the parents. This will be part of the policy and procedures. We should also go through the town's accounting practices. You know, as these kids get older, a parent stops doing soccer and you come in to do soccer. You collect $600 for uniforms and all that. Where does that money go? I mean, that's a tough thing for somebody to come in cold and try to figure out. So we haven't been good at explaining that, so we'd like to have it all written down, handed to them. This is how it works, and so that's what we're looking at. We need an activities aid. We're still working on that, so that's where I am with youth. They do meet again, but I didn't look at my calendar to say when. When was that, Tanya?
January 13th.
Next youth meeting will be January 13th, and Fred will take care of that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we need to advertise for an activity. Yes, we do. So, yes, I move we advertise for an activity committee person.
Second by Fred. Any discussion? It's a position we need.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
All
position.
in favor?
I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'll get you.
What else we got? Seniors? Seniors did not meet last month.
Right.
So I don't have a report for the seniors, and that'll be Fred's next month. When is that, Fred?
15th.
Wednesday the 15th?
I won't be able to be there. I'll be in
Okay.
class.
That's 1 o'clock at the Armory, but you got Ann. She'll help you right through what happened there.
I'm
So
hoping.
she's great. They meet 1 o'clock at the Armory on Wednesday.
We'll move on to public safety. Mr. Leano again.
Oh, Lord. I gotta find this one. I don't
You
even
got a
know-
good spot tonight.
Yeah, I don't even know where it is. Hang on a second. It's in my packet. Oh, but then I can't read it. Here it is. Hang on a second. I gotta make it bigger so I don't use my glasses and look funny. See, I'm vain. What can I tell you? Found it. Sorry, Bill.
With that tie, it sure.
Okay. Public Safety met on December 30th, 2013. We were called to order with the pledge around 5 p.m. Committee members present was myself, Chief Mark Johns, Margaret Lallman, Calvin Cross, Bill Ball. Guest in attendance were Supervisor William Grinnell, Councilman Fred Hunston, Judy Barber, and Bruce Barber. Guests wishing to speak. I'm going to shorten this thing up, folks, but Judy and Bruce Barber raised a concern about a resident on adjacent property. This has been going on Wayne Avenue. It has to do with a person that owns a pig. And this thing is really intertwined. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, there's an odor in the summer. They're trying to get it handled, and we are working through that. And it's not easy, just for that.
Just something that you might want to plug into that, Dave. I did talk to, Bill was speaking to me about it today, and John Deming from Elizabethtown owns a potbelly pig and has for many years. And there's something about it that they are, there's been a Supreme Court case that where they have been
They're a pet.
deemed a pet.
Yes.
Correct. Kind of it may put
Yes.
some bias on, what you end up having to do with that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can't just have a domestic animal or anything like that, but they do have to maintain the pet. So if there's feces all over the yard, I don't want to go into all this, but there are ways we can address the problems between the neighbors, because it's not fair for the neighbor with a beautiful home to have to deal
I
with
could see John, we'll ask him, because he had some insights into
Yeah.
it, because like I said, he's had one, and
You can't compare John. It sleeps in the house, in its own bedroom.
John has one stays right in his house.
It gets his paper for him. I mean, this is a smart animal, okay? We're not talking the same animals, okay? It's amazing. Yeah, I'm like, they're smart. They're the fourth smartest animal.
Most of that information is available on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, he told me.
And I've been there, I've been doing some research on it, and I think there's solutions available.
Okay.
But we've got to do a little more research before we
Yeah.
decide what the solution
Yes.
is going to be.
Yeah, we do. So Bill Ball reported on a water leak at the Sunshine Laundry Building where the landlord was not able to be there. He stated he had the water department turn off the water, and the problem was traced to a water heater. There was discussion about whether the town could receive reimbursement for costs associated with the water department labor and the code of officer call-in. You know, the guy's not there, the guy's not around, we have a situation turns into emergency, the fire company calls us in, so it gets pretty intricate. Bill reported there have been a number of calls on this building, and I had asked if it would be subject to the nuisance property law. So, starting in 2014, Supervisor Grinnell, Chief Johns, Bill Ball will start meeting to discuss problematic properties in the town and try to get some of this stuff handled, which would be great. Bill reported on a recent training class about methamphetamine laboratories and the dangers associated. He goes into these places a lot. So if he runs into this, he knows not to turn the light switch on, back out, run, call Mark, you know, that kind of stuff, because these things blow up. They're not good. On the police department, Chief Johns updated the committee on the changes made to the junkyard law and the parking law at the last town board meeting, and Chief Johns reported on the end of the year status. Our police budget, probably 3-4 years ago, at the end of the year, we were probably having to throw in about $50,000. The last 2 years, Mark has managed to come in under budget both years, and I really appreciate that because we've had it tough here on the town level, and he's really managed to step up and get that department under control financially, and that's a big help. So every once in a while we borrow 15 grand from, but I won't go into that, Mark. You know, they go through all the rest and all that. That's all available on the internet if you need to see it. You know, feel free to call Mark on any of this stuff that you don't understand. But that's all I'm going to do for that. Okay?
All right, thank you. Library,
No report.
no report. Okay. Insurance committee?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No meeting till next month.
Okay. Contract negotiations. We still have the police contract to deal with. I believe we're going to address some of that in executive session. And the water sewer department have indicated that they now have a new representative and we need to begin negotiations on their new contract. I've told them they will probably be best to begin that early in March. And we're going to draw up a time that's convenient for everybody involved and begin the negotiations on that contract.
Great.
Reported department heads. We'll start with Mr. Fuller.
All right, I sent you guys the first report, and like I said, if you guys want different outline, different information, feel free. Timing, if you want it earlier, a couple days more before, let me know. We're pretty flexible as far as when you guys get it, so you kind of drive the bus in that regard, so just let me know. Birnbaum Road was taken care of in December. It's going into the county. Tony and I have taken care of that. Local laws, one of the early ones I have, and it's actually, I was reading the sewer permit too, or the new speedies permit, is an updated sewer use ordinance. So your industrial pretreatment program, which was basically driven by the meat processing facility, is included in that. So in the next couple months here we were working on that regardless of the speedies permit because our sewer use ordinance was updated. There's also, it's been on the radar for a while, this is going back probably 7 or 8 years, but the small strip of land that ran basically from Baldwin, I think, down through the old village, the old train tracks, the D&H properties. D&H has been parting ways with those pieces of property. And years ago, back actually, Wayne Wagner and I noted it on the map. It's a green strip that runs down through the old map. It's not have one. But anyway, it runs down through some residential properties. It hasn't been a big deal because D&H owned it. Now some residents have started buying some of those. I helped a couple of them last month actually get one of them closed. And they're just off-zoned. It's zoned historic recreation, I think. And that was fine when D&H owned it, but it's privately owned now. And what happens is a lot of the properties are on both sides of that. So the 3 property owners that I dealt with, Tracy, Porter, and Snug Harbor, they all straddle that thing. So in between their properties is a non-conforming use, basically. So if they wanted to put a pool in the backyard or put a garage in the backyard or something like that, technically they'd need a use variance, which doesn't make a whole, you did the ZBA for years, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we, years ago, identified, didn't need to deal with it, but that would be something that can be dealt with, a very easy local law change to the zoning map. It's not a heavy lift
But they're
at all.
different uses. Tracy might have a different use than Snow
It is,
Harbor.
right. You would mirror the uses, because that district splits right there.
Okay.
So you would mirror the use of that district. And I'm not telling you to do it all, because parts of it the NH still owns. Or you can do the whole thing now, it's really up to the board. But we'll get a printout of that copy of the map and get it to the board to get that changed. Because eventually it would impact them. Wayne and Bill have done a good job of dealing with it over the years. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to leave it like that. The wells, I gave you an update on that. The Sawyer's moving. We'll probably deal with it in committee later this month, but there's two that are still pending. Dory and Rafferty are still out there. Rafferty was extended to March 1. Durham's never executed, so that option, I think, we'll deal with that in committee this month. I don't know if you're going to keep it around or not. And Gooseneck, in November, I've been working with DEC for a while and waiting on the wells part to see where it was going to go. And I saw in last month's DOH permit inspection a couple of comments in there about Gooseneck and the whether or not it's prohibitive, not prohibited, but prohibitive to work up there. And I'll reserve comment on that. I don't, maybe not necessarily agree with him, but I am continuing that discussion. I actually called DEC today again to work on getting that meeting, and I'll let you know when it is.
Okay.
Because they said it would be after the new year that they would get back to us on it.
But, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that not kind of in the context of like an abstract, so to speak, to show that we have rights to the water line in order to roll the thing into financing in the end?
Yes and no, because we would get into a long discussion here today. We probably should. I'll give you copies of the statutes and kind of walk you through them, but there's some responsibility of the state with regard to that dam.
That's not good.
Thank you.
So that's the issue. And that's what we need. That's why we haven't gotten anywhere, I think, with that part of the discussion, is the state hasn't necessarily wanted to deal with that. I've known it for a long time.
I don't think that's good, right?
It doesn't necessarily make it easier for us.
They would go in and repair it and drop the cost on us.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah, it's not good. I'd rather have control myself.
Well, it's not that cut and dry.
Okay.
So we'll walk through it at some point.
That could be quite
And that would be a
expensive.
general charge on the town.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be allowed to be put in your packaging.
And that's the other part of the rub, is it depends.
General charge on the town.
I don't know if I agree with that entirely, because that carried over. You're right, though, that's a position that was taken, but that was when it was a village.
Right.
And if you think about it, a village-wide charge is much different than a town-wide charge.
Yeah.
I think legally, not just practically.
Good.
So there's a whole lot of swirling, but that's...
There was a letter that we found very recently. I think you were made aware of it today.
I knew about those letters.
Okay.
I didn't know that one, but I knew about the old ones.
Well, if the state wants to charge us for water from Gooseneck, which is basically what those letters were attempting to do.
That's actually built into the statute. They have to charge for water coming from a forest preserve.
Well, then they have to make it available.
There is, yeah. I think we'll sit down and go through those.
So I guess if the dam isn't there, the water isn't available, and they hold the responsibility to us for that.
Part of it is the dam, the original dam was built before they changed these statutes in the late 1800s. So if you look back at the old statutes, they're worded a given way. Over the years, when you look at the information, the 30s and the 50s were two big kind of milestone issues for it was the village then. And what the laws were then and what they are now are a little bit different. So I'll leave it at that for now. But It is,
And if we don't need the dam, if in fact we actually don't need that dam to provide us with water, if they want to fix it, fine, but it wouldn't make a lick of difference if we were going to draw water out of Gooseneck and didn't need to have that dam there to accomplish that.
yeah, there's a whole lot of information. That letter was definitely very interesting. And I don't think we've ever paid it. Sue left, but I've asked that question before. I told you about the applications, working on the fueling, and I'm going to talk to Dave a little bit after the meeting. Just a couple of questions I want to ask him about that. And I gave some information for the new board members, just different things that have been out lurking. One of them is stormwater. You know, I know that the prior zoning law was really controversial and things like that, but there are certain key parts of that that eventually the town will end up looking at, and stormwater is one of them. You know, we've had I&I infiltration. When you deal with your sewer system, it's a constant issue. And it's no different than any other sewer system. You know, groundwater and stormwater that get into your sanitary system, it basically just eats the capacity of your plant. And that is directly related to stormwater treatment and stormwater maintenance. And you know, you've had some property owners that we are still dealing with that have, you know, brought in fill and things like that on properties and have significantly impacted your sewer system with stormwater and things like that. So eventually, I put it down in here, I thought we were going to end up in it in the last round, the MS4S program, which is the municipal stormwater treatment programs. It was done by population, believe it or not. That's how DEC and the EPA had kind of pushed down the regulation. Right now, for Ticonderoga, for example, DEC manages or oversees the stormwater requirements. It's an acre threshold. So if you're going to disturb more than an acre, you need a stormwater pollution prevention plan to be filed with DEC, a notice of intent, and things like that. You need a permit from them. It's actually a bit of a type of speeds permit, like our sewer plant. Those have been pushed down to the municipalities based on population. So down the southern end of the lake, like George Bolton, Queensbury, they all have to, by law, administer those regulations themselves. So they are enforcing stormwater right now. Some of those municipalities got into that a little bit earlier because of issues like sewage with their plants, because people were making changes to properties that were impacting their stormwater. They didn't know what to do with it. So that's something that's, again, it's been on the radar for a number of years, and every now and then we have a project that Tracy will call and say, hey, what do we do? And how do we deal with this? We don't have a regulation right now. So we're kind of strapped to deal with that issue, but it can cause you highway issues and, you know, freezing issues, things like that. So that's been on the list too. But other than that, I gave you a cheat sheet. One of our clients actually this year asked us to put it together, and I figured I'd send it to you guys too. Open meetings and secret and things like that. So.
Certificate of occupancy law?
Yeah. Did you get my email back?
No.
I had updated it. Actually, I was updating it as we were sitting here at the meeting last month. And I saved that and I sent it back out. I forwarded it again tomorrow. I sent it to Tanya too, the whole board. But what I did is I went through and, like we talked about at last month's meeting, kind of carved out. You'll see it. The one paragraph is a lot different. Carved out single-family residential, multifamily, hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts, and then basically all other uses. And put the 6-month, instead of, the one problem I think with the other law from, was it Port Henry or whoever had it, the 6-month thing wasn't very clear. It was in that law that those permits are good for 6 months, but somebody had asked about that. Do I have to do this every time I have a tenant? The way it was written, no, but that was a good question because I don't think it was entirely clear. So I've bumped it up into the law so it's very clear that when you get this, you don't have to come back. You know, and that 6-month time frame is up to the board. You can make it a year. You know, that 6 months came from that law, not anything I would suggest. So that is sitting there.
Our budget is, Carla isn't here tonight.
I'm going to ask you on the brief if we couldn't get it a couple days early, if it's possible.
I can.
Earlier
You
the
want
better.
it the weekend before? I'm sorry. Monday too?
That would be, whatever, the day of the board meeting is a little tight for me.
Yeah.
If we could get it.
Oh, yeah, very tight. It's,
we
you
can
have
get
to
it.
sit at
Yeah, but it's funny, 'cause some different boards like it, some people read it the day of,
Yeah.
and like sit in their inbox.
Right.
I can push it out whenever you want. So let's say the Monday before?
That'd be
Yeah, Monday would be great.
anytime, as soon as, yeah, that'd be good.
So this, the email, the documents that we got regarding that local law, those, they have been changed since you sent them. I think this one I downloaded today.
Yes, that's the one.
This is the one.
Yeah. I was jotting those changes down as everybody was talking last month and firing them, so yes, that is the latest right there.
Okay. So it still looks like you have to have a certificate within the last 6 months.
That's right.
You still have to do that. Okay.
And again, those are times that's a policy decision. I'll send you a little memo on it. But those are things that you can decide. You can make it 9 months. There's no statute behind
The timing.
the timing. Exactly. It doesn't say you have to have 6 months. That's your decision. It could be a year.
So if someone is, someone has a home on the lake and they close it up Columbus Day and come back May 1st, they would have to get a... No.
No, for a single-family residence like that, it's good when it's issued. It's only when there's a change in tenancy
Okay.
or a sale. So if they sold the property, you need a new CO. Somebody asked about, well, if we rent ours out, right? So that would be a change in tenancy. You're renting it out. That would kick them into the 6-month requirement.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't need it until they sold it. Or you could have a house 25 years and not need another CO.
Okay. Because the way it reads, it says, for every building consisting of a single-family residence, when such single-family residence shall have been vacant for any period in excess of 30 days. So that's why I was wondering
Yeah,
about
I'll
the most
clarify
recent
that.
one.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that would fall in there.
Any more questions for Mr. Fuller? You good? Okay. Our budget officer is not here this evening, so we'll forego that. We had enough money to pay the bills.
You do have 2 interfund advances that have to be passed.
Say that again.
You have an interfund advance from general to John Street sewer, stormwater separations, heating 17, in the amount of $159,068.07. The funds will be reimbursed both through our grant funds, and that was for abstract 13 2003, which it should be passed separately.
Okay, I would move that.
Well, all right, fine. We have a motion. We have a second?
Second.
Second from Chatty. Sorry, I didn't have this. If I did, I didn't see it. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the other is from general to the Black Point Sewer District for $40,000. The funds will be reimbursed with the rents, the user fees. We have a motion on that?
I'll move that.
So moved by Mr. Taylor. Second.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That's it for budget. Everybody? Police, Chief Johns.
No, nothing to report unless the board has any questions for me. Thank you.
And our town clerk.
You have in front of you, in front of you, Chilton Fire contract. They have filed a request to turn in their papers for auditing, and I have their insurance. So, and they have signed the chief has signed off on it, so we can pass that, and our supervisor can sign off on the agreement for the year.
What's the motion?
To accept the contract, the 2014 contract between town Chilton Volunteer Fire Department.
I'll do that.
I'll second. And this also authorized the supervisor to sign off. Yeah.
I haven't done it either.
Fred and I don't have that.
Yeah, this is something that's been going on for the last 3 months. We've talked about it with you, because we requested all of their, in that budget workshops, you guys are aware. The only thing that was
It's just noted.
from the last town board.
It's just noted.
It's an annual contract, it's yearly.
If not this year, then like next year, then we'll put in that all people in officers' positions have the appropriate training and cannot exercise the appropriate training.
You should say that so that
Okay.
everybody knows. That's a good point.
It's to protect the town and the town board. I don't know if they want to put it in this one or not, but I would like to see it put in there a clause saying that the people elected into the officers' positions have the appropriate training, and they cannot exercise their position until they have that appropriate training. That's only to protect us. Then all they have to do is their trustees or whatever come up with appropriate training. That's up to them. But that protects us. They shall, I should say. I didn't say should. Shall have.
What is appropriate training, Fred? What does that mean?
That means that, well, like I say, they've got their directors or trustees, whichever you want to call them. They can put together what they feel is the appropriate training for each position. And that's completely up to them. We aren't going to make that position, but by putting this in, it protects us and the town if something should go wrong.
You mean fire companies don't have requirements for the people in different positions as to what they don't have training, continual training, and fire company personnel aren't trained?
It's supposed to be in their bylaws.
Don't the state set the minimum qual for officers and whatnot in terms of what they have to have?
Not really. NFPA is the one you could look at for that, but that is not a ruling law.
Okay.
All that is that's a suggested.
What's the cost associated with this training?
Pardon?
What's the cost associated with this training that you're talking about that I don't understand? I'm sorry.
It depends on, like, you got firefighter 1. That's almost 6 months going, to classes and everything for approximately 6 months, depending on how they schedule it. But anyway, most of the time when they drive to and from, they either use one of the company vehicles, is in Chilton Fire, or if they drive their own, sometimes they supplement them for the mileage. Then you got firefighter 2. And then you got, it's on and on and on, there is safety for their officers. There's a class on that. And of course, there's a number of classes in the firefighter 1. And I can't even list them all. I've got a stack of certificates that I went to for all this and everything. I'll bring them in and show them to you if you
Is there money in your budget for this?
That's their budget.
Is there money in their budget for this?
Well, they've been doing it. They have to do it. In so many words, they have to have some training. So,
is there not any wording in the contract to that extent?
We deal with equipment in the contract.
right.
That's it?
That's all it's been.
Do we,
But let's say,
do we contract with TIE Fire in the same?
No, that's
Because
different.
that's our,
that's different. That's completely different. They have their own. See, we're like their commissioners for Chilton. Now, they have their own commissioners for the TIE Fire.
right.
And that they rule them. Now, if somebody that didn't have the appropriate training, we'll say, did something wrong, and somebody got hurt, killed, whatever it might be, we're responsible. Oh, yeah.
The problem we run into, Bill, is because this fire company is under the auspice of the Ticonderoga Town Board, they fall under the 2% tax cap. Okay, or they impact our 2% tax cap with whatever money they need. These guys got hit with radios, they got hit with all kinds of costs that were really high, and that's what all this ran into. How do we stay within the 2% tax cap? And that's why when we talk about things, I always talk about money and how do we pay for it, because we're still trying to keep the town in the 2% tax cap without busting that, and that's easy to do, you know. And I guess that's why I'm asking, just so you understand why I'm asking. It's not that I don't want the fire company to be as, you know, whatever they need to do, whatever they need to do. It's just,
well, see, we aren't demanding that they have this, and this for the training. That's the whole of it, see. If we did, that would protect us. But rather than to do that, I would rather let them make the decision in their own entity for what they feel is appropriate training. And then we have asked for the appropriate training. Now, that will protect us, and that's why I'm asking for this.
I think what I'd suggest at this point in time is you're saying for next year's contract.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, you know, if you want to wait until then, yeah.
I don't, you know, if we throw that at them now, we can put them out of business if they don't have, you know, if they don't comply with what we're asking. And I don't think that's fair to them. To put it into next year's, I think is reasonable. And I'd like Matt to take a look at it to be sure that we're protecting ourselves in the manner that you're describing, and get back to us by the next meeting on it. Is that reasonable?
It could be plugged into that agreement for next year. I think that would be the right move.
And then we'll go forward from there. That gives the fire company plenty of time to comply, and
I hand this out to the board every year, right around budget time, and that's when it starts to get work done, so we have plenty of time to do that for next year.
All right.
To get that in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will this training have dollar amounts associated with it?
That is completely up to
what they decide they wanted to do.
Right.
I mean, if they start looking at a program, they say you'd like to do this, this, and this, will you be able to come in with dollar amounts to send your people to this, this, and this? Or approximate?
They can come up with that, but what it usually entails is that, see, the state puts these on, or the county, free of charge. A lot of times, pardon?
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
Oh, that's, okay.
But yes, the travel, wherever they're holding the classes, that's what it really is, the cost, really. It's like when I was working construction, I didn't even get home sometimes. I'd have to go straight to the class and take the class and whatnot. But it's rough for them to take these classes. It really is. But if something happens and they haven't had the training, no matter what the situation is, it can fall right back onto us, and they can sue each individually one of us. I understand.
We have a motion on the floor and a second.
What's the motion?
To do what?
To approve the 2014 contract.
Yes. Sorry. Lost where we were.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
That's definitely something we'll work out for next year.
Yeah, we'll hire him.
Yeah.
And I just need to say that we are collecting the good old town county taxes, and I encourage anybody to listen to asking for the payment plan, the payment program. It's a very good program that we offer for payment installment, and we'll be working on our warrant. That's it.
Oh, one other thing I'd like to bring up for you, Adjourn, is Chatty and I spent between 2 and 3 hours up at the transfer station, looking it over, asking questions, and we got some information and whatnot. We've got to follow up on a lot of it. I would like to get somebody to join the committee and, get their input, whatever it might be,
Okay?
if anybody would like to.
You got the,
And it was chilly.
It's cold up there.
you have the prerogative to select your committee member.
I'm hoping I can get some volunteers.
All right?
All right, yes, thank you.
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to bring up?
Can I ask just one question, please? But
One.
on this fire department business,
Yes.
suppose Chelsea decided that nobody is going to be below a fireman second class or whatever it is you said, and they're following all the rules and regulations that the state makes them follow right now. I don't believe that the board can be sued. What is the opinion of the attorney on that? I don't believe the board can be held responsible.
We would have various defenses in any sort of lawsuit like that. But to answer you straight on that, yeah, I would tend to agree with you. If there's some minimum level of training that the fire department says this is what we're going to go to, and this is our standard, if you will.
I mean,
it's reasonable.
I don't understand why this is coming up now, because Chilton is having a hard time as it is.
Yeah.
And now you're going to throw some more curves.
No.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. Listen to me. They make the decision
That's right.
of what training they want
And if
for
they-
each position.
Suppose-
They make the training, we aren't.
Okay, suppose they say to you that even our chief is going to receive no more than a second-class fireman, and that makes him chief.
That's up to them.
That's up to them. So why are you trying to make standards
I'm not
that
making,
they cannot accomplish?
I am not making standards. I am saying appropriate training. Now, from there, we could make standards for them, and I don't think that's the right thing to do.
If they've been doing the appropriate standards all these years,
They haven't.
they haven't.
No. Okay? That's a fact.
How long has the Chilson Fire Department been up there?
1961.
And we now figured out that they're not trained properly?
52 years.
Is that what you're telling me? I don't understand. I got a couple of firemen in here I'd love to talk to. Courtesy of the floor to Jim?
Sure.
I think probably the easiest way to work through this
Moved in second.
is to understand the difference between a fire district and a fire protection district. And that's what Matt can do for you next month, is explain what your obligation is under a fire protection district, which Chilton is, and whether you have the right to do that or not in a contract. I don't know if Fred's request is valid or not. It may very well be, but I think that's what you have to understand of what the difference is, where your obligation lies in that protection district.
So,
What's our contract say right now about following New York State laws and regulations as of training?
We don't discuss training specifically.
That does. It says that we have to follow the laws and the regulations of New York State for our fire protection district. Therefore, when they tell us what we have to do, that statement is already in the contract.
Are you trained where you need to be, Larry?
Yes, I am.
Your people are?
Most all our people are.
Depends what duty.
What about your second or first assistant now?
Who's the first assistant?
Mike Tremendous.
What has he missing, Fred?
Firefighter 1, firefighter 2, safeties, all the safeties and
I know
everything.
that.
I think you have to look at this too. Mike Bendis is somebody that cannot do the work of firefighter 1, firefighter 2 probably.
Exactly.
Because that may not remove being a lieutenant though, based on whatever their criteria is, only because of his health. I have people in my system that can't do the same thing. They cannot suit up, but yet they're still part of my hazmat team.
Okay,
You know, so
before,
I think you need to understand.
excuse me, before we sit here and discuss individuals in public session for qualifications or anything else, okay? That's going to come to a halt right here, right now. That's not proper, and it's not going to be done in this room if I'm here.
I apologize.
So we stop there, We'll have our attorney look at it. He'll report to us next meeting, and that's where that will be carried out. Does anybody have anything else? Tanya, you got any more? Anybody have anything else? In that case, we'll entertain a resolution to go to executive session. We have negotiations to discuss. We have particular personnel issue.
I'd move that. So move.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.